How do you know if the price you're paying for your new home is actually reflective of the value of that home? Well, that's where the appraisal comes in. Hi, I'm Chris Henwood with North Point Bank, and welcome to the Henwood Edge. Today we're going to talk about the appraisal. Now, the appraisal is an objective report that's issued by a licensed certified appraiser after they do a thorough top-down inspection of your home, and that determines what the value of your home is. Now, what is your new home really worth? And how do they figure that out through the appraisal process? So the appraiser will come out, inspect the property top to bottom. Then what they'll do is they'll take a look at the property in its current condition with all the upgrades and all the features that go with that home and compare it to other sales that occurred in the neighborhood and in the general wider area where that house is located, and compare it to those houses. So a four-bedroom house situated on a certain amount of acreage with certain features. All these things get calculated, and they're all, added and figured out in such a way that they arrive at what's considered the objective value for that property. Now, ideally, we like that value to come in right at purchase price, or maybe even a little bit better, which would be nice. But occasionally, it'll come in a little bit lower. So what do you do if the appraised value comes in lower than your purchase price? Well, the first thing we do is we take and we would submit a rebuttal. We would ask the realtors to provide us with some additional houses that may have sold that the appraiser may not have been aware of or taken into account that might be comparable to the property that you're buying. So then we take those, comps, we call them, and we submit them to the appraiser and say, hey, would you consider maybe a couple of these comps being part of the value of this home? Now the appraiser can say yes or no, and they can adjust their value accordingly if it warrants it, or they can say, sorry, we think the value is what it is. So in the event that after any sort of rebuttal is exhausted, you're left with basically three options. The first is the seller will then lower their price down to the appraised value, which would be great, but a lot of times sellers aren't inclined to do so. They view the contract price as the price of the house, so therefore the appraisal becomes the buyer's problem. Now, if they don't lower it down, there's still two other options. The first is that the buyer would then have to make up the difference in cash between the appraised value and the purchase price of the home, because the bank will base everything that we do for mortgages and the value on that appraised value. That's the objective value that we have to use. So any difference needs to be made up in cash, which is a lot to ask for a buyer of a home. Now, in the event that the buyer doesn't bring all the money and the seller doesn't lower their price, what normally happens in this situation is you meet somewhere in the middle. The seller lowers their price by a little bit, the buyer brings a little extra cash to the table, and then we complete the transaction accordingly. But it's something that we hope doesn't happen, although it does sometimes occur, but we try to find creative ways to make sure that the person who's buying the home gets the home they want at a fair price. And as always, appraisals are like everything else in this process, especially on the Henwood Edge, where there's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all. So in the law, they look at property as unique. Every piece of property is unique. You can have cookie-cutter houses that all look exactly the same square footage, same lot size, same everything, same street, and they're all considered unique. So for each unique property, there will be a unique appraised value. Now, the appraisals will be similar, I'm sure, in a situation like that, but every property is unique, and the appraisers are very skilled at what they do. I have to say that I think that the job they do is tremendous. The amount of data that they crunch and the numbers that they make work to come up with that value, it's really quite neat. If you haven't seen an appraisal report when you're buying your home, be sure to read through it very carefully, because there's a lot of great information in there about how they do what they do to get to the price of your home, or to the value of your home, I should say. So as always, if you're having an appraisal issue now, or you just want to talk about anything else to deal with appraisals or anything else mortgage related, please give me a call. My phone number is right there. As always, my contact information will be at the end of this video. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for watching the Henwood Edge.
This is not a commitment to lend. All loans are subject to credit review and approval. Not all loan programs are available in all states. Contact a North Point Bank loan officer for further details.